Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're getting into the explainer on the foundations of Java full-stack development. I know, that title sounds like a mouthful. In the tech world, these massive buzzwords get thrown around all the time, right? And honestly, there's a ton of assumed knowledge packed into them. If you follow tech trends at all, you've definitely seen this phrase. But today, instead of just nodding along with industry shorthand, we're going to strip away the noise. We're going to break this down into literally the simplest terms possible. Our whole goal here is to build a crystal clear mental model of what this specific architecture actually is, giving you a really solid grip on the concepts powering basically the entire digital world. Let's do this.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because the most natural question you're probably asking yourself when looking at a giant umbrella term like this is, what does this actually mean in plain English? Our goal today is to totally cut through the jargon. We're building a rock-solid mental framework. So don't worry, we aren't going to get bogged down in endless lines of code or nerdy syntax debates. Instead, we're looking directly at the words themselves to find the absolute core meaning. Grasping these fundamental building blocks, that's your golden ticket to understanding the whole system.
Section 1. A basic explanation, stripping away the jargon.
So the source text we're analyzing today makes one huge core promise to us, and that is to provide a basic explanation. And that's exactly our guiding star for this whole explainer. I want to speak simply, slowly, and deliberately here. By tackling these exact words, literally one by one, we are guaranteeing ultimate clarity. We are completely bypassing the fluff and skipping the overly complicated theoretical debates. Instead, we're focusing entirely on the foundational concepts you actually need to know. Section 2. Unpacking the foundations, building from the ground up. All right, let's start with that very first word, foundations. The literal definition we're working with here is the underlying basis or principle. Think about it like building a house. Before you can put up drywall, before you can paint the living room, and definitely way before you slap a roof on the thing, you need a foundation, right? You need a totally solid ground floor. Well, in software engineering, it's the exact same deal. The foundation represents the environment and the core architecture where your application is ultimately going to live and operate. Before any of the fancy, complex digital building happens, you absolutely must understand this underlying basis. You just have to start at the bottom. Ultimately, foundations just means the starting point. Now, take a second and really let that concept settle. Without a totally stable starting point in a digital context, whether that's figuring out how your data is structured or setting the rules for how different parts of the software will talk to each other, literally nothing else can securely exist. It completely sets the baseline for everything that follows. Moving on to Section 3. What is Java? The core tool. So let's look at the next piece of our puzzle. You hear the word Java tossed around constantly in tech. Yes, it's a super reliable, incredibly ubiquitous programming language. But for our super basic explanation today, we're going to focus purely on Java's role as a functional item. The working definition we're using is a foundational technology tool for development. Look, while it's true that Java involves complicated syntax and algorithms, functionally speaking, it's just the heavy-duty engine of an application. Think about it. If a carpenter uses a hammer and nails to build the physical foundation of a house, a technologist uses Java to build the structural logic of the software. It handles all the heavy lifting, processes the data, and runs the core commands that make an application actually work.
So, the crucial point here is that Java is simply the chosen instrument. But you might be wondering, why this specific tool? Well, Java is famous in the tech world for its write once, run anywhere superpower. That basically means a developer can build a program using Java, and it's going to run flawlessly on a Windows PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, without needing to be completely rewritten from scratch every single time. So whenever you hear Java in this context, I want you to picture a highly versatile, industrial-strength tool in a toolbox, one that's specifically selected to build upon our starting point.
Section 4. The full stack, front to back. Okay, let's conquer the most technical-sounding phrase of the bunch next. When someone says full stack, the very first thing we have to ask is, well, what exactly is a stack? You might instinctively picture a literal stack of objects, maybe a tall stack of pancakes or the layers of a cake, and honestly, that physical analogy works perfectly as a starting point. In the technology world, software isn't just one flat single thing. It's a software stack. It's different technologies and programming languages neatly layered, one right on top of another, to make a complete functioning application. It's a vertical series of distinct layers all working together. Now, let's explore how those layers split into two incredibly simple categories, the front and the back. The front of the stack is what you, the user, actually interact with. In a digital sense, this is the layout of a website, the text you're reading, the interactive buttons you click, the fonts, the colors, the whole shebang. Now, the back of the stack is what makes it all work seamlessly behind the scenes. This involves the databases storing your account info, the systems verifying your password, the security protocols, and all those invisible logic engines running the show. Think of a modern restaurant, right? The front is the beautifully designed dining room where you sit, read the menu, and enjoy your meal. The back is the hot, bustling kitchen where all the ingredients are stored, cooked, and prepared.
Which brings us directly to our synthesized definition. Full stack simply means the complete layering of both the front and the back. Therefore, a full stack developer is essentially someone who has the expertise to design that beautiful dining room and cook the complex food in the kitchen. They totally understand how to build the user interface that customers interact with, and they also know how to engineer the underlying databases and logic that make those front-end interactions actually do something. You aren't just dealing with one side, you're dealing with the entire restaurant, the whole stack of layers.
Section 5. Putting it together. Java Full Stack Development. We've defined all our basic pieces. Now it's time to assemble them.
Let's move to this sequence and see how this logically builds. Step 1. We establish our foundations. Remember, that means setting up our digital environment and the starting architecture. Step 2. We grab our chosen tool, Java, to serve as our robust cross-platform engine. And step 3. We use that tool, along with a few others, to build out the distinct layers. We build both the visible front where the user operates and the invisible back where the data lives, creating that complete full stack.
And that brings us to the very last word from our source, development. So what exactly is development in this context? Well, it's the action word. It is the continuous, ongoing act of bringing the tools and the layers together onto a solid base. But development isn't just building something once, dusting off your hands, and walking away. It involves rigorous testing to make absolutely sure it doesn't break. It involves constant, ongoing maintenance. And crucially, it involves making sure that the front-end dining room and the back-end kitchen are communicating smoothly. So when a user clicks a buy button, the correct data is retrieved and displayed. Development is the actual, literal process of breathing life into the architecture.
So when you put it all together, look at what we have. You have Java powering the full stack, brought to life through continuous development. This massive, intimidating, multi-word industry term is, at the end of the day, simply the sum of its logical parts. It's just a highly reliable tool applied to a stack of visible and invisible technological layers, being actively built and maintained. It really is that simple.
And with that, a basic explanation has been successfully achieved. We've taken a highly technical phrase that scares a lot of people off, and we've built a really clean working mental model that you can now confidently apply to real-world tech discussions. We literally extracted the absolute basic truth right from the source material. And I think it perfectly demonstrates that even complex software architecture becomes totally accessible when you systematically break it down into its core components.
So, I'll leave you with this one thought to ponder. Literally every application on your phone, every banking portal you log into, and every e-commerce website you visit runs on these exact same principles. A solid starting point, a powerful engine-like tool, a visible front, and an invisible back. Now that you possess this incredibly clear framework for how technology is structured, how will these foundations shape what you decide to build next? Or even just how you analyze the digital tools you rely on every single day? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.